Hello everyone, this is Latasha Blanton from the Real South Africa Travel and Tourism. And you're going to have the opportunity to travel with Phil Scott to
sunny South Africa. You guys are going to have the opportunity to come to Johannesburg, and you guys are going to be coming to Durban. And we're going to set it up perfectly. It's going to be like a luxury experience for you guys. At the same time, you're going to be getting some culture. And of course, you're going to get an opportunity to talk to Phil, hang out with Phil, and get his views on Africa and South Africa.
You're also going to get an opportunity to explore the lifestyles here that are available in South Africa. And we're going to do all that for you in an amazing 10 days. We do hope that you go to the website and book because we do look forward to seeing you here.
Absolutely. Our website is therealsouthafrica.com. Go there, scroll down. You'll see a picture of Phil and just go ahead and book there. So we'll see you here in what we like to call sunny South Africa.
The director of the CIA, William Burns, is in Africa. To be specific, he has visited Somalia and Kenya having a conversation, a high-level talk, as they called it, with the president of Kenya, William Ruto, and the president of Somalia, President Hassan Mohamud. They had a conversation about, and I quote, regional security and what is happening in the Horn of Africa. In case you haven't noticed, there's a lot happening in East Africa and the Horn of Africa. It's like African countries are going at each other's throats, and it's very alarming, and people are wondering what's behind all this chaos. And I talked about this before, just a few days ago, when it comes to Uganda suing Kenya, taking them to East African court. And the reason behind it is because Kenya denied a permit to operate in the country, as well as they did not allow them to export fuel. And secondly, Tanzania rejected Kenya Airways flight and then lifted the ban. Eventually, we learned that the reason why they did that is because of a tit for tat, because KQ refused to grant a request to Tanzania's Air Tanzania to operate cargo flights. And another East African country, Burundi, closing their borders with Rwanda. And the reason behind that is because Burundi is accusing President Kagame of involvement in their country when it comes to attacks on their soil. It doesn't end there. Another East African country, which is Somalia, now angry with Ethiopia because Ethiopia made a deal with Somaliland, which Somalia considers Somaliland as part of their territory. So that started a disagreement, and Somalia returned an Ethiopian Airlines flight. They refused airspace to that flight. Last but not least, Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. They have been having a back and forth for a while now, but now the DRC President Felix called Rwanda's President Kagame Hitler. Yeah. So all this is happening in one corner of Africa. There's a lot. It's not just this that has happened in just a few weeks and months. And imagine we're in 2024 in January. It's still the first month of the year and we're facing all this chaos. So people were saying, why? What's behind this? Why are we at each other's throats? And now we find out the CIA director, the main guy, the boss man of CIA, is in that corner. He was not visiting South Africa, North Africa. He was in East Africa having a conversation with the president of Kenya and Somalia. And some of the conversations they had was private, so we don't even know what the conversation was about. All they told us was that they had a conversation about security in the region. People are not taking this lightly, and it's definitely alarming the way we celebrate and receive the CIA director as if we don't know better. Just on the books, right? On the books, the CIA's primary function is to provide objective intelligence on foreign countries and global issues to the president being the President of the United States, the National Security Council, and other policymakers to assist in making national security decisions. In the pursuit of preventing threats and advancing U.S. national security objectives, the CIA engages in collecting foreign intelligence, producing objective analysis, and conducting covert actions directed by the President of the United States. And as the CIA boss or director, his role is to oversee the agency's intelligence activities, including collection, analysis, covert action, counterintelligence, and liaison relationships with foreign services. That is by the books. And we know what the CIA is accused of doing by its own members that left the CIA.
You briefed the press, did you not, when you were there?
Well, I had several jobs. One of my jobs was that of analyst. I also was an interrogator and indeed briefed the press when we, the CIA, wanted to circulate disinformation on a particular issue. Disinformation is not necessarily a lie. It may be a half-truth. And we would pick out a journalist. I would go do the briefing and hope that he would put the information in print. For instance, if we wanted to get across to the American public that the North Vietnamese were building up their force structure in South Vietnam, I would go to a journalist and advise him that in the past 6 months, X number of North Vietnamese forces had come down the Ho Chi Minh Trail system through southern Laos. Now, there is no way a journalist can check that information. So either he goes with the information or he doesn't, and ordinarily or usually the journalist would go with it because it looked like some kind of exclusive. And I would say our percentage planning that kind of data was 70 to 80%. The correspondents we targeted were those who had terrific influence, the most respected journalists in Saigon, like Robert Chaplin of the New Yorker magazine, Kai's Beach of the Los Angeles Times from time to time, and also he worked for the Chicago Daily News. Bud Merrick of U.S. News and World Report, Malcolm Brown of the New York Times, even Maynard Parker of Newsweek magazine. We would go after these gentlemen. I would be directed to cultivate them, to spend time with them at the Caravel Hotel or the Continental Hotel, to socialize with them, and slowly but surely to try to gain their confidence by dolloping out valid information which was true. And then I would drop into a conversation the data that we wanted to get across which might not be true. One piece of data, for instance, that we managed to plant in the New Yorker magazine had to do with a supposed North Vietnamese effort in 1973 to develop airfields along the border of South Vietnam. The reason we wanted to plant this information was that we were trying to persuade the U.S. Congress that Saigon should continue to get a great deal of aid, and that the North Vietnamese were the chief violators of the ceasefire accord. That was printed in the New Yorker magazine under the byline of Robert Chaplin, as indeed was a great deal of such information which we tried to circulate. If I planted a piece of information with a reporter, I would ordinarily then try to create an environment in which he could not check the information. I would go to the British ambassador and brief him on the disinformation I had just given the reporter. So when the reporter wanted to cross-check what I'd told him with, say, the British ambassador, New Zealand ambassador, or what have you, he would get false confirmation, the same message coming back at him, and he'd say, aha, I've got proof that Frank Snepp told me the truth, when in fact what he'd gotten was simply an echo of what I'd given him in the first place via the British ambassador or other of our friendly diplomatic contacts. I am, as an ex-CIA agent, opposed to the disinformation activities in which I was involved. I admit that I was involved, and I think it served no useful purpose. Propagandizing the American public or Congress is not the CIA's job.
So obviously, Africans have every right to be alarmed when it comes to his visit and his conversation with the leaders of these countries. But anyways, fam, let us know down below what your thoughts are about this. Why do you think he is in East Africa, and what do you think he's doing? And what do you think he's talking about with these leaders? I'm Wongel Zelalem. I'll see you on the next one.